Snow fell like quiet confessions over the small town of Alder Creek, soft and steady, covering sidewalks, cars, and the sharp edges of a year that had been anything but gentle. Inside the Evergreen Cafe, Christmas lights blinked in warm gold against the windows. The scent of cinnamon, pine, and freshly brewed coffee wrapped around the room like a blanket. Couples filled most of the tables, hands intertwined, laughter rising above the hum of holiday music. At the table near the window sat Leila Monroe. She had chosen that seat carefully. If the date went well, she wanted to watch the snow with him. If it went badly, she could at least pretend she was there for the view. Her red coat was folded neatly over the back of her chair. A small silver necklace rested against her sweater, a gift she'd bought for herself that morning, a reminder that she didn't need anyone else to make Christmas special. Her phone lay on the table. 7:12 p.m. He was supposed to arrive at 7. She reread his last message for the 10th time. Can't wait to finally meet you. I promise I won't disappoint. She almost laughed at the irony. At 7:20, she ordered hot chocolate to give her hand something to do. At 7:35, she checked her phone again. Nothing. No apology. No excuse. Not even a flimsy lie about traffic or car trouble. By 7:50, the truth sat across from her more solidly than any man ever could. She had been stood up. On Christmas Eve. On a blind date she had only agreed to because her sister insisted she needed to get back out there. The cafe felt louder now, the couples more obvious, the empty chair across from her more humiliating. She blinked quickly, refusing to cry. Not here, not tonight. The door chimed open, letting in a gust of icy air and a swirl of snowflakes. Leila didn't look up at first. She didn't want to keep hopping every time the bell rang. But then she heard a small voice. "Daddy, it's so warm in here." Curiosity pulled her eyes upward. A tall man stepped inside, brushing snow from his dark coat. Beside him stood a little girl, maybe 6 years old, bundled in a puffy pink jacket and matching hat with a crooked pom-pom. The man scanned the cafe, a polite smile on his face, but every table was full. Except the empty seat across from Leila. He hesitated. Their eyes met. For a second, Leila felt embarrassed, as if her loneliness were visible, glowing under the Christmas lights. He gave her an apologetic nod and walked over. "I'm so sorry," he said gently. His voice was calm, warm. "Would you mind if we shared the table? Everywhere else seems packed." Leila glanced at the empty chair again. It had been waiting for someone else. "Of course," she said, forcing a small smile. "Please." The little girl grinned up at her. "Thank you. Daddy said Christmas Eve would be magical." Leila swallowed. Did he now? The man chuckled softly. "I might have oversold it." They settled into the seats. The little girl immediately began describing the gingerbread house she'd made at school, crumbs still clinging to her mitten. Leila listened, answering questions, smiling when appropriate. It was easier than sitting alone with her disappointment. After a few minutes, the man leaned slightly closer. "I'm Daniel, by the way, and this chatterbox is Emma." "Leila." "Nice to meet you, Leila." There was something steady about him, not flashy, not trying too hard, just present. She wondered if he noticed the untouched second place setting, the way she kept glancing at her phone. He noticed. At 8:05, her screen lit up. One message. Unknown number. "Hey, sorry, something came up, rain check." That was it. No explanation, no regret, just convenience. Daniel saw her expression change. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Leila locked her phone and slipped it into her purse. "Yeah," she said after a pause, "just Christmas surprises." His eyes softened in understanding. Emma tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, can she have one of our cookies? We have extra." Daniel smiled at his daughter. "That's very generous of you." Emma slid a sugar cookie across the table toward Leela. "For you," she said proudly. And something inside Leela cracked, not painfully but gently. "Thank you," she whispered. The three of them ended up ordering dinner together. It wasn't planned, it wasn't arranged, it just happened. Emma insisted Leela help her color the back of the kids' menu. Daniel protested lightly but didn't stop it. "You don't have to entertain her," he told Leela. "You probably have somewhere else to be." Leela gave a small shrug, apparently not. He didn't press for details, but his expression said he understood more than she'd explained. Between bites of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes, stories unfolded naturally. Daniel had lost his wife 2 years ago, a sudden illness, no warning. "It's been just us since," he said, glancing at Emma, who was carefully stacking marshmallows into a tower beside her hot cocoa. "She keeps me brave." Emma looked up proudly. "Daddy cries sometimes, but only a little." Daniel laughed under his breath. "Traitor." Leela smiled, but her chest tightened. She had lost someone too, not to death, but to slow emotional distance. A 5-year relationship that dissolved into silence and "I'm not sure anymore." She hadn't told Daniel that yet. Instead, she asked, "Why here tonight?" Daniel hesitated. "Emma didn't want to stay home," he admitted. "It's our first Christmas Eve without, well, we thought maybe being around people would make it easier." Leela nodded. She understood that kind of loneliness, the kind that felt louder in an empty house. Outside, snow continued to fall, thick and dreamy. Inside, something shifted. At one point, Emma excused herself to the restroom, leaving the two adults alone. Daniel glanced at the empty chair across from Leela again. "Were you waiting for someone?" he asked gently. There was no pity in his tone, just quiet concern. She could have lied. Instead, she exhaled. "Blind date." He winced slightly. Ouch. He didn't show. Daniel's jaw tightened, not dramatically, but enough for her to notice. "On Christmas Eve." She nodded. He shook his head slowly, disbelief mixing with something else. Respect, maybe. "That's his loss," he said simply. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't flirtatious. But it felt honest. Leela studied him for a moment. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he replied. "Anyone who shows up when they said they would already deserves better than someone who doesn't." Her throat tightened unexpectedly. Emma returned then, announcing loudly that the bathroom soap smelled like candy canes. The spell broke, but not entirely. When dinner ended, Daniel reached for the check. Leela stopped him. "Please, let me pay for my part." He considered arguing, then nodded. "Deal." As they stood to leave, Emma slipped her small hand into Leela's. "Are you coming with us to see the tree in the square?" she asked. Daniel blinked. "Emma." "It's okay," Leela said softly, surprising herself. "I'd like that." The town square glowed like something out of a postcard. A massive Christmas tree stood at the center, lights shimmering in gold and white. Families milled around, children throwing snowballs, couples taking photos. Emma ran ahead, her laughter floating through the cold air. Leela walked beside Daniel, their shoulders almost brushing. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not letting her see that you were hurting." Leela gave a faint smile. "Kids notice everything anyway." He nodded. They stood together watching Emma spin under the lights, her pink pom-pom hat bouncing wildly. "She asked Santa for a puppy," Daniel said. "I'm still negotiating." Leela laughed softly. It felt good, real. Snowflakes clung to her hair. She didn't brush them away. After a moment, Daniel turned to her. "I know this is sudden," he began carefully, "but would you like to join us for hot chocolate at the house? We usually watch old Christmas movies." Leela froze, not out of fear but surprise. It would have been easier to decline, to go home, to tell herself this night was just a strange, sweet coincidence. But something in her heart, something brave, whispered that maybe not all unexpected things were disappointments. "You barely know me," she said. Daniel met her eyes steadily. "I know you showed up," he replied. 3 simple words. You showed up. The opposite of the message, still sitting unread in her purse. Emma ran back toward them, cheeks pink. "Daddy, it's almost 9. We have to make a wish." She grabbed both their hands before either adult could react. "On 3, she announced. 1, 2, 3. Leela closed her eyes. She didn't wish for the man who hadn't come. She didn't wish to undo the year. She wished for courage, to say yes to the right things. When she opened her eyes, Daniel was looking at her, not urgently, not possessively, just waiting. "Yes," she said softly, "I'd like that." Emma cheered as if the answer had been for her. They walked toward Daniel's car together, 3 sets of footprints marking the fresh snow. It wasn't the Christmas Eve Leela had planned. But sometimes the unthinkable wasn't grand or dramatic. Sometimes it was simply this: a stranger pulling up a chair, a child sharing a cookie, a man choosing to stay, and a woman deciding that being left alone didn't mean she had to remain that way.